welcome. Come on in. Welcome, welcome. What do we think of my hair did? Cut off too much at the top. Wanted to kind of get that nice Zach Morris wave going. It's a reference probably most don't get here. Marcus might get it. Marcus, how old are you? Oh, you're muted.
I am 27.
Did you get the Zach Morris?
That's about Sunday was my birthday.
Well, happy birthday on Sunday.
I appreciate it.
You get the Zach Morris reference?
I do.
Okay.
Maybe.
I didn't know. 10 years makes a big difference.
I'm sorry, but I don't think anyone should be allowed in that doesn't get the Zach Morris reference. I'm tired of young people. I'm just saying it right now.
Some old people don't get Zach Morris either, you know. Older.
Right.
Older.
I just don't want to be the old person in the room anymore. I used to be the young person. I'm just saying.
I was as well. Absolutely.
Kate, I feel your pain.
It's not right. It's not right.
Let's ask Dixie. Do you get Zach Morris? No. No. Saved by the Bell. Does that sound like?
I definitely get it, Tug.
Thank you. Thank you. Much appreciated. All right, so I guess let's go ahead and get started. We're a little 2:02 or so. Thank you guys very much for being here again. We really appreciate your time, and it's good to see everybody, right? So you got the little hair did, right? So anyways, thank you for being here. Today we're gonna have a fun one, especially for me. I think if you know me, you know that I enjoy a pop or two. And today we're gonna have Lancer's beer systems, and we have a couple folks from Lancer on. So let's say hi to Marcus first. Marcus, say hi.
What's going on, y'all? My name is Marcus Buscemi. I'm the product line director for draft systems here at Lancer.
Perfect. Mike, we're gonna say hi to you next.
Yeah, hey, Mike Krowetsky, Lancer, Key Accounts, and I support you great folks over at Miller.
Mm-hmm. You guys weren't on here before. He had his own little Tug Time about a month ago or so.
Right.
It sounds awful to say, doesn't it? All right, Becky, I believe you're next. Oh, Becky. Oh,
hey, everyone. Yep, sorry, I was on mute.
Yep.
Becky DuBose with Lancer, Vice President of Sales. Nice to meet you guys.
Perfect. Well, thanks. Let's go ahead and jump on in, right? Let's do the fun thing, as it were. So, Marcus, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, state you live in, maybe even the state you're in right now. Not mentally, of course, and just a little bit about yourself, school, whatever.
Absolutely. So I'm from the sunny sunshine state of Florida, which I'm at right now on vacation. But I'm popping in to say hello to you guys and bring you up to speed on our Lancer draft systems. But I live in San Antonio, not too far from the office, not too far from the airport. So yeah, that's a bit about me. I've pretty much come up my entire career in beverage dispense from the manufacturing side. Worked for some major players in the draft end before I came over to Lancer. And now I'm here and we're launching a new product line. And I think it's probably the best draft system out right now, but I might be a little biased.
Of course, but it still is great. So of the 3 teams, NFL teams, which one, 3 Florida NFL teams?
I guess I'd be a Bucs fan, especially now they got Brady. Now I have a fan that I can root for. I was a small child, so at least now a decent Florida football team.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. How about a little interesting fact from you?
I'm a big fan of rock climbing and tattoos, so I got a lot of tattoos. I do a lot of rock climbing. I like to stay active. I just try and have fun.
Perfect. You were saying that you did a little hike earlier today, yeah?
Yeah, not a lot of rocks to climb in Florida, but
what?
We walk
about? What about palm trees? Can you climb palm trees?
Maybe the right one.
South of them Gators. So how about this? Your background in the industry or before?
Yeah, so I came up as an employee at Micromatic. So I kind of cut my teeth down there and took a lot in about the industry. From there, I went up to Canada and I worked for a Canadian beverage supply supporting the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic U.S. We had a real easy route into the U.S. up there from Toronto, where the corporate office was. So I had some experience with their international side in Canada as well as the domestic side. And then from there, I came on to Lancer and joined the team here and looking to launch the draft portfolio here. We do a ton of business globally when it comes to draft already. We're a market share leader in Australia, as well as a pretty large player in Europe, where we've done places like Wembley Stadium in the UK, et cetera, et cetera. So we have a really nice track record and a pretty thick resume internationally, and we're looking to step it up domestically and really introduce some of the innovation that we have in-house to the US market.
Perfect. That's where we come in, right?
Exactly.
So did you go from Canada to Texas?
I did. I was actually based in Brooklyn. So I was in New York when I was there. I didn't live in Canada, but I was back and forth there quite a bit.
Gotcha. I was gonna say, man, it's quite the difference.
Yeah, even going from Brooklyn to Texas is quite the difference. So,
Well, you don't know this, but I actually lived in New York for upstate. Well, what city people would call upstate, but
yeah.
anyways, it's West Point. So we're going into beer systems, right?
Absolutely.
You guys remember Mike K from last time when Jeff hosted, if you guys don't remember? We hit on beer systems a little bit. We kind of mentioned it, but after that show, I really demanded that we talk beer. I want to talk more beer. So that's what this one's all about, beer systems. Before today's call, we have a little pre-meeting call, but Chris Miller kind of made a joke, mentioned that we were going to take the K through 12 folks off of our invite list for this Lancer, for beer systems specifically. But really, we didn't have to take them off the invite list for this one, did we, Marcus?
Absolutely not. And we'll be able to dive into that a bit deeper as we.
Let's go to that.
I'm not sure if I can see the slides if they're up yet.
They're not up yet, but they're about to be.
Boom.
Boom.
Perfect timing.
Chris,
So,
he's good.
part of the reason why we wouldn't have to remove the K-12 guys is one, we know kids love to drink. Kidding. But the way we've designed our equipment is we've been able to make it so you can pour any beverage on tap at any time. So one of the pieces that we can talk about there is juices. You could do fresh squeezed juice, bag and box juice, however you're looking to do it. You could do it on tap. And although it would have that on tap feel and that on tap look, really it just makes it simple for kids to fill up their own cups. So I don't know if it's necessarily going to be huge on the K side, but when you get up into the high school end and you do have that flexibility in lunchrooms and cafeterias where kids have a bit more of that buffet style options, it could be something that you could see fit in there, especially when you look to doing water, sparkling water, just still water, et cetera, et cetera. All of that is an option on the cold draw draft systems.
Cool.
So that was our overall goal, is we wanted to design this with supreme modularity and flexibility in mind.
Excellent. What about the yield there? I see there.
So that was the other piece is when we talk to our customers and we get out into the market, the biggest complaint is foamy beer. Every time you have foam and you have the pints that you're pouring out, the foamy head, and if you have a pitcher that you're filling up and it's foaming over, all of that's waste. So most people know that when the longer you have a beer sit, that foam eventually turns into beer. So every time you're pouring that foam down the drain, it's not just foam that comes out of nowhere. That's beer from your keg. So if you're pouring out half a pint every time you pour a pint, you're minimizing your yield. So we've built this to make sure that your beer stays cold all the way from the coupler that connects to your keg to the point of dispense. And we've designed it to be the most efficient way of cooling. So you're able to maintain really high keg yield and pouring every little bit out of that keg, which puts more profit into the bar owner's profits rather than pouring it down the drain.
Agreed. So I can think of, 4 to 5 or so beer system manufacturers off the top of my head. Is Lancer's cold draw just another gimmick or marketing, or is it something that really does break the mold and change.
No, so one of the things that we wanted to do, I mentioned before that we own the market in Australia. So we're the #1 beer system provider in Australia.
Chris, let's go to the next slide.
To do
Sorry, keep going.
things. Sorry, what was that?
No, I was asking Chris to go to the next slide. Sorry.
So
Keep going.
in Australia, one of the things they do is they like iced over towers, and they freeze them up, and they build up these big chunks of ice. And in the U.S., we don't do that. It looks cool, but we pay more attention to our energy bills.
Sure.
One of the things that we've done is we've developed an entire new technology of how to cool a draft beer tower. So it's our patent pending cold draw technology. So rather than your standard flooded towers or your copper coil loop that you see in most old school style beer towers, we wanted to take an approach of let's not design this with any current restrictions in mind. Let's become the Tesla of beer systems and let's take it up the next notch. So what we've done is we've actually milled these out of 6061 aluminum, which is one of the best pieces of metal if you want to cool things. It's what we use in all of our Lancer cold plates. Our Lancer cold plates are notorious for being the best cold plate in the industry as well. So we've taken cues from that end, as well as taken some cues from the computer industry and liquid cooling hard drives. And what we've done is we've actually embedded our glycol channel into the cooling blocks. So what that means is you have 360-degree cooling around your lines in the tower, which increases your energy efficiency by nearly 80%. So where our competitors, they might have about 100 to 120 BTUs that are consumed per hour per faucet on their beer tower, we're somewhere in the range under 20 BTUs per faucet. So it's a massive energy difference, which allows much smaller draft systems when it comes to refrigeration, as well as much smaller energy bills.
That's impressive. Really impressive. Yeah, so let's hit on the glycol. Well, do we have anything else we want to hit on that, or do we want to move on to glycol?
I mean, we can talk. I could probably talk all day about it.
I know.
So just if we hop back one more slide, just a couple pieces. This is made with all 304 stainless steel beverage contact material. So anywhere that your beer flows through, or your whatever beverage you want to pour that flows through, it's 304 stainless steel contact. So that means it can really handle harsh cleaners if it needs to be. If it's something that sits, maybe if there's a global pandemic and your beer system is sitting for a long time, this can be cleaned and be right back up to normal, and you don't have to worry about any harsh chemicals ruining what you're doing. We also have double O-ring leak-proof shanks. So the shank that you can see on the front of that insert is where your faucet attaches to. So that's a double O-ring design in there. So it's never going to leak. Even if you lose one O-ring or an O-ring rips, you're always going to have that backup O-ring in there, which is going to ensure that you don't have any leaky beer coming out of your towers. So we've really made sure that we've stepped the game up here to take tower cooling to the next level.
Cool. Tower cooling. That's how cool it is.
Very cool.
So let's move on to the glycol then. Glycol housing, where do we mount it? Can you kind of take us through that part?
Yeah, so as we were going through and designing our product portfolio, what we wanted to do is we wanted to ensure that we were thinking with our dealers, our designers, and our specifiers in mind, and what they need for their customer base and what their customers ultimately need from them. So we wanted to kind of give them the ability to put the glycol chiller anywhere, right? You're not restricted to where you can specify in that glycol chiller in your drawings. You're not restricted to, do you need it mounted on a wall? Do I need to put it on a shelf? Do I need to make sure that there's a shelf specified in?
Did we lose him? Are you there, Marcus?
I can't hear him.
I don't hear him anymore. Marcus.
He locked up.
Oh no. Oh no. Let's give him a second or so to come back.
Florida.
Let's all, yeah, Florida. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. No, not one. No. I went young for the Zach Morris. Now I'm going old for the intermission for movies. Back when we had intermissions, that's when you could tell it was a good movie.
I started to tell you to watch it, Tug. Be careful.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Do you still want intermissions in movies, Tammy?
No, not necessary.
Okay.
I just, the old comments, just,
When I say old, I mean older, not like actually old, not like Santa old, because he's old. All right, well, since he's not back, do we want to have Micah back here, or do you want me to kind of shoot at it? Since we do have some other,
Hey, we also have Phil Ogle on our team
we do?
online. Hey, Phil. Being shy.
He's on mute. Technology's fun. No Phil, no Marcus?
No Phil, no Marcus.
All right.
I
Well,
can start making
Yeah.
stuff up if you want.
I can
Who's
start.
back?
He gave me a quick overview. Who's back?
I'm back. I'm sorry. I gave you guys a bit of a cliffhanger. My internet went out, but I'm tethering off my phone now. So
Florida.
basically where I was at was we needed to ensure that we have the pump and motor in an easily serviceable position, but we didn't want to limit where we could mount that unit. So we built this to be able to be hung ambidextrously. So it can be right facing, it can be left facing, it can be forward facing. However it needs to be mounted, it can be mounted that way. We also wanted to keep it very compact and a small footprint. So we used a small 4-gallon glycol bath with a brace plate heat exchanger, which is really, really efficient for cooling things down. So we've been able to basically put together what we think is the best glycol chiller in terms of being able to specify in with a small footprint, mountable in multiple configurations. And really, it's the smallest glycol chiller in the market when you go pound for pound versus any of its competitors.
Perfect.
And then moving to our cold seal trunk line. So I wanted 3 big pieces of the beer system, the chiller, the tower, and the trunk line. The main piece of difference here, actually there's a few, is that we're using a reinforced plastic extruded jacket. So if you've seen any other type of beverage Python bundles or
I'm sorry.
your trunk line bundles.
Somebody needs
Will
to
do.
mute. Who is it?
Do you want me to shut down or just leave it up?
Oh, Emily, mute yourself. Okay,
So
sorry, keep going,
this
Marcus.
is a plastic reinforced jacket. So if you've seen any other sort of beverage tubing or bundled tubing, typically you'll see it's a taped jacket, and they tape it, and it's very easy to rip it, and it's also very easy for rodents to chew through it. And no one wants to have that conversation. No one wants to bring that up, but it's an issue that comes up more often than people would think. This extruded jacket is really dense. It's strong. You can take a knife to it and scrape it, and nothing will happen, and it'll handle it really, really well. Another piece that we've run into is when you have some of these rubber-based foams that are used for insulation, they tend to blow up like a balloon if they get condensation over time, or if you get any sort of leakage onto them or anything like that. We've used a water-resistant polyethylene-based foam insulation. So what it does is it holds its shape really, really well. It's ultra lightweight, and it's totally water-resistant. So water can just run right out of it. It's not going to soak it up and get fat and start to really kill your insulation factor. And then finally, one of the things that the soft drink world has solved a long time ago at Lancer is flavor transfer, right? When you go to drink a Coca-Cola out of a fountain machine, or you go to drink a Sprite out of a fountain machine, you don't taste any previous beverage that was on that fountain machine. So the same tubing that we're using for that, we're using on our draft systems. So that means it's been approved by Coca-Cola, and they're flavor testers, and they're guys that have the really strong palates that go in there and they taste for zero flavor transfer. That's a problem that we have solved that not everyone has. I don't know how many people in here are big in the bar and restaurant scene, or I should say craft beer scene. But a few years ago, New Belgium released a hemp-based beer. And that beer was super popular in Austin and Colorado and some of these areas. And it basically had that really dank, really strong hoppy flavor. and it ruined beer lines, right? Once you put another beer on there, it didn't matter if it was an IPA or if it was a stout or if it was a lager. It always had that really strong hoppy taste, even if it wasn't there. So you don't have to worry about that with these lines. Regular cleaning will make sure that there's no flavor transfers whatsoever.
Perfect. That's cool. So I believe we are now, do you want to give that little anecdote about Topgolf you were talking about?
Yeah, so one of the things that you may see, particularly in Topgolfs, right, is you have a really, really large beer system. It's multiple floors, it's multiple walk-in coolers, and they're going all kinds of different ways throughout the facility. It snakes through like spaghetti. But because of that, it goes outdoors typically. It'll go overhead, it'll run through crawl spaces. And your lines, as they go through there's massive temperature differentials, right? So if you're in Texas, if you're in Florida, if you're in Arizona, your beer is going to be flowing through it at 38 degrees, 36 degrees, somewhere in that range. And the outside air might be 110, 120 if you're in an attic, crawl space, or you're above a kitchen area. What we've done is we've made that polyethylene-based foam to where even if it does get some condensation, you're not going to leak it all out. You're not going to build these big bubbles. So it's really going to be able to solve solutions to problems that are existing in the market right now. So I don't think even places that are looking at new builds only should look to taking a look at beer systems. I think we should even look at this for places that are looking to renovate and add value quickly, right? There's a really fast return on investment by replacing a faulty beer system because profit margins on beer are so high. If you're able to increase your yield and get more beer out of your beer system, that it's an instant payback almost.
Perfect. So I think it's question and answer time. Let's feel free to unmute or write into the chat. I see one question. Actually, I see two questions because there's a private one, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. So Marcus, are you related to Steve?
So sometimes I like to say that I am, but I'll be lying if I do say that I am.
You got to jack up your teeth.
But I do say that I am related to him every now and then.
Attaboy. Attaboy. So Dan Nelson asked, so the variance in temperature to the taps creates extra foam. Is that what you were saying?
Yes. So basically, there's three main pieces in beer, really two. It's temperature and pressure. So you want to ensure that your temperature is aligned and you're keeping your beer to the temperature recommended by the brewer, and that the pressure that's applied onto the keg is the same pressure that the brewer is intending. You might see some real high carb beers, some of your nice lagers and IPAs. You might see some real low carb beers, your stouts. So those are the two main keys. And if you start to get too warm of your beer, you have breakout of your CO2, which causes that runaway beer and your real foamy beer. So you want to avoid high temperature and major temperature differentials and keep that beer that you're storing, keep it at the same temperature the entire way to the dispense point. So if you're storing it at 36, our goal is to make sure that it's pouring at 36.
Cool. Any other questions? Open it up.
Hey, Marcus.
Nope.
Yes, sir.
Mike K here. Just a quick question. On a normal, say, just anybody's beer system, what's the difference in their percentage of waste versus ours?
It depends. Honestly, it truly depends. I would say the average beer system probably yields between 70 to 80% of their kegs. That's the average beer system. That's not the beer system that was installed yesterday by the best installer in the country. That's your average system. Our beer systems, we are going to make sure that we're using our authorized service agents that are deemed trained and qualified by Lancer. And we're going to make sure that they're getting top tier equipment from Lancer. So our goal is to ensure that you get at least 95% keg yield on every beer system we install.
Well, thank you. That's huge right there.
This is Dan again. So when you say that, we're talking about regardless, they're going to get that little from the keg, but of the little they're going to get, we're going to make sure 95% of that get to the tap correctly.
Absolutely. So your standard keg is going to be right under 2,000 ounces. So we want to make sure that they get about 1,950 of those ounces poured at minimum. There's always going to be a slight bit of waste at the end of the keg, simply because there's not enough pressure to counteract gravity in there.
Sure.
But we want to ensure that we get as much of that beer out of that keg as possibly that we can.
Got it. Thank you.
And directly into my mouth. All right, any other questions? No. All right, let's go to Tug's question of the day. So for those who might be new, we do a question of the day. The first to answer correctly, and it's 226. The first to answer correctly to tugtime@millerequip.com gets a $50 gift card. I will tell you, I know that we only had 3 entrants last week. That's it, just 3, and they were the same 3 on Tuesday and Thursday. So feel free to get a $50 gift card by just answering the question. Just send it in, even if you're not first. Just send it in. All right. So the question of the day today is, why are Lancer beer systems more efficient?
I think I'm a shoo-in to win the $50 gift card.
No, not for you, sir. No. We'll just have to go to a bar and write it off. And make Miller and Lancer pay for it.
I'm in.
Thanks, Uncle Jeff.
Yeah.
Or Jeff, obviously. So, cool faster. Yes. That just came up in the chat. All right. So, I believe that's enough time. It's time for Tug's interesting facts. And those who have been attending and know me, I think it's pretty obvious what today's going to be about. Beer, right? So unlike the past where I do histories of things, I think most kind of know it was the most sanitary way to drink water back in the day, like way back in the day. But so they had like low alcohol. That's not what we're doing. That's not what we're doing. Today, we're going to be talking about, at the end of 2017, there were a total of about 7,450 breweries in the United States, including 7,346 craft breweries, subdivided into 2,594 brew pubs, easy to say, 4,522 microbreweries, and then 230 regional craft breweries, and then 104 large non-craft, also known as macro breweries. At the end of 2019, that total number went from 7,346 to 8,386. So we like beer here in the US. If you're wondering what qualifies someone or something as a craft brewery, microbrewery, or non-craft, I'm glad you asked. Microbreweries produce less than 15,000 beer barrels a year, or less than 460,000 gallons. Brew pubs, and they have to sell less than 25% on site. Brew pubs have to have the same regulations pretty much, but they sell more than 25% of their beer on site. Regional craft breweries are between 150,000 barrels and 6 million barrels, also known as 190 million gallons. Macro breweries are obviously over 6 million barrels. InBev, that's Anheuser-Busch, South Africa, not South Africa, that's South. InBev was Europe, right?
InBev is Brazil.
Brazil, okay, so InBev is Brazil, and they bought Anheuser-Busch, which was obviously one of our largest, actually the largest. Anyway, so InBev AB, this is in the US, did over 90.7 million barrels in 2019, or 2.85 billion gallons, trillion is a lot, billion gallons last year. That's down from 2009's mark of 3.56 billion gallons. The latest numbers of beers drank per capita. This one's a pretty common like pub question if you guys are into trivia and whatnot, but we'll go ahead and start with number 5 and work our way up. So number 5 country per capita is Poland, drinking 25.94 gallons of beer a person a year. Number 4 is Romania, 26.1. Germany, number 3 at 26.7. Austria, 28.4. And does anyone know the number 1?
Australia,
No, not Australia. Anybody else?
Germany.
Nope. Germany was number 3. I just said Germany.
Well, I didn't hear you, obviously.
Oh, clearly. It's the Czech Republic, and this is now the 24th year in a row that they have been number 1 per capita in the world. They drank a staggering 50.7 gallons of beer per person per year. And it's not adjusted for of-age drinkers and underage drinkers. It is taking the amount of gallons that they chug, liters in their case, right, versus the population. So, whoa. Surprisingly, the Seychelles are on the list at 23.8 gallons. That would be good enough for 7th place if they were really large enough. You guys know where the Seychelles are? They are a small archipelago of islands, 150 islands in the Indian Ocean. Yeah, they drink 23.8 gallons, and their population, though, is only 93,000. So it's really a lot of holiday people going, travelers, trips. The U.S. on that list, in case you're wondering, finds itself in 20th place at 19.4 gallons a person. By volume, real quick, we're almost there. By volume, number 5 is Germany at 2.1. Number 4 is Mexico at 2.4 billion gallons. Brazil, number 3, 3.3 billion gallons. The United States at number 2 in gallons at 6.4 billion gallons consumed. And number 1 is China at 10.4 billion gallons of beer consumed a year. And that was, did I say that it was the 24th year of Czech Republics in a row? That's China's 16th year in a row of being the number 1 beer consumer. For the states themselves, by capita, Wisconsin, number 5, South Dakota, number 4, Montana, number 3, number 2, New Hampshire, which is really not fair because they don't charge tax. So all the local people that are near New Hampshire go to New Hampshire instead of Vermont or Massachusetts, whatever. Anyways, New Hampshire, number 2, and then number 1, North Dakota, with 45.8 gallons of beer per person. And this is adjusted for being 21 or over. Texas is number 9 with 34.4. By volume, this is the end, I promise. And this was 2017. The other ones were 2018, but this is the best I could find by volume. So Illinois, number 5 with 259 million. New York, 327 million, number 4. Number 3, Marcus, Florida at 423 million. Number 2, Texas at 626 million gallons. And number 1, California at 724.9 million gallons. So I am finished. I'm spent. I am finished with Tug Time. I hope it was as good for you as we said it would be. Thank you guys very much for coming. Marcus, Mike, Becky, Phil, thank you guys very much for being here. We really appreciate it. Next week, not next week, excuse me, Thursday, the next one is really cool. It's probably going to run long. It's going to be a chef roundtable. We have 3 different segments that are going to be there. Texas Tech, so obviously College University, Twin Peaks, and then Chef Alex, and then a large hospital here in Plano, the Texas Health Presbyterian Hospital, the Chef Gary. We're going to have them on, and we're going to be kind of talking just how has COVID, affected you guys. So please come back. We really appreciate it. Thank you guys. Obviously, if you want to go see any of the old videos, we have almost all of them up at millerequip.com. Tug Time. Marcus, thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it, guys.
Forward to talking to everyone soon.